Hey guys, how are you doing? All right, so now that The Great Gatsby is over and I have read everybody's responses to the chapters, let's talk about it. Okay, so for the most part, you guys got the gist of the book. There were a few misconceptions here or there, so this video is going to just give you a simple rundown of the main points in the book, and then also talk about some of the things that I saw that some of you may have interpreted a little differently. All right, so obviously, as you know, the story was written and takes place during the 1920s, the Roaring Twenties, before the Great Depression. And we have our four main characters. We have Nick Carraway, who is our narrator, as you know. He is also the cousin to another main character, Daisy Buchanan, along with her husband, Tom Buchanan, and then, of course, the big, great, elusive Jay Gatsby. I'm sorry, y'all. My hair. Okay. Let's keep going. So, Nick goes up to New York for the summer and he rents a little cottage right across the way from Jay Gatsby. Now, everyone's heard of this man. They all go to his parties. They think he's fabulous, but nobody really knows who he is. So there's a lot of different things floating around about Jay Gatsby. He was a German spy in the war. He has killed people. He's a bootlegger. He went to Oxford. All these different things, but nobody really knows. The only person throughout this book that is really going to have a chance to get to know truly who he is, and not even on a full depth level, but more than anybody else, is actually Nick Carraway. All right, so Nick develops a little bit of a semi-friendship with Jay Gatsby, and Jay knows that Nick is Daisy's cousin. Now, later on in the book, we realize the relationship between Jay and Daisy. They were together before he went off to the war, World War One, and he wanted her to wait for him when he got back. But during that time, Daisy met Tom Buchanan. And there's actually a portion in the book where Daisy receives a letter from Jay right before the day before she is to get married. And he tells her that, he still loves her and he doesn't want her to marry Tom and, all these different things. He professes his love. She knows how Gatsby feels about her. But Daisy, in keeping with who she is, has grown accustomed to a certain type of lifestyle. And she knows that she can't have that lifestyle if she were to be with Jay Gatsby. He's not wealthy. He's a military guy. He grew up in your typical middle-class family. He doesn't come from money. Everything that he's gotten, he's worked from the ground up. And so she actually has a fit. She's crying. She's doing all these different things. She knows that she loves Jay, but she just doesn't want to let go of the life that she can imagine with Tom Buchanan because he's wealthy. His family is wealthy. His family is one of actually the wealthiest families in the United States at that time. And that's actually given to us in chapter 1. And so the next day she goes on and proceeds to marry Tom Buchanan. Fast forward, they have a little girl. Daisy plays two dual characters here. She loves Tom. I mean, she married him. It wasn't all for the money. She did love him. And they do have a child together. But she also knows that it's hard for women to really voice their opinions and be their own people. And the best way that she can really navigate this world, in her own words, is to be a beautiful little fool. She gets whatever she wants by speaking lightly and with flirting and with acting like she doesn't know anything. That is why, and that's one of the questions I gave you guys, Jay says that her voice is full of money. He knows that she's a gold digger. Let's be honest. He knows that Daisy likes the finer things in life. That's why he does what he does to try and recapture her heart through things, through money, through material possessions, through big homes and fancy clothes and big parties. But not only that, but she's maneuvered her way in a sense where she can get whatever she wants. She's pretty. She's very flirtatious. She gets along with everybody, and she kind of like just flutters around and very airy and very light. And men like trophies. They like a woman to be on their arm who's cute but silent. That's a big issue. Because her friend Jordan Baker, who Nick kind of likes, is the opposite of that. She's free spirited, she's independent, she speaks her mind. She's what women do now, but back then in the 20s, that was frowned upon. That wasn't what women do. And so Jay Gatsby, he completely understands the type of woman that Daisy is. However, that does not stop him from trying to win her back and trying to impress her. So, of course, he enlists the help of Nick to orchestrate a meetup at Nick's cottage with Daisy, and he hadn't seen her for 5 years. So all this time since he left the war, he knew she had gotten married. He knew she had had a child. He knew where she lived, which is why he bought the mansion right across the bay from her. And he spent this time building up himself in order to get her back. Now, they did start spending time together. They were having, I guess you could say, a little bit of an affair. Not the one like Tom's been having. But Tom doesn't like it. He's a little jealous. He doesn't want Daisy to do what he's doing. Yes, that is a double standard. Double standards have been happening for many, many years. So, of course, he does his own thing. As we know, he openly flirts his own mistress, Myrtle Wilson, even around Nick, around everybody in town. So everybody knows. Even Jordan said that in chapter 2 or chapter 3. Everybody knows that he got a girlfriend. But even though Daisy knows that as well, do you really think she's going to give up that lifestyle? That sounds a little shallow, but do you really think so? No, because then she has to fend for herself. Then she has to take care of her daughter. She's a single mother. Those types of things, sorry, it's my phone. Those types of things are unheard of in the 1920s. You don't have single parents. You're married, your husband or wife dies, or you're single, okay? And so Jay and Daisy, they kind of have this dance throughout the book, right? Going back and forth. They hang out whenever Tom's out doing his thing. Of course, Nick is always there because Nick is the one that helps get that together. And he sees everything that's going on, and yet he doesn't say anything. Now remember, he's the one that everybody tells their secrets to, but he also chooses not to speak up. And that's going to be a huge issue toward the end of the book. Okay, so yes, Jay Gatsby is a bootlegger. Okay, he sells and helps transport alcohol, which at the time we know is illegal through prohibition. Okay, and he owns some drugstores. He dabbled in gambling with his friend Myra Wolfsheim. He did a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a lot of odds and ends, but the bulk of the money that he made was underhanded, was illegal. That's why he was very vague about what he did. If anybody tried to ask him a very specific question, oh, I did this, oh, I did that. He never went to Oxford, remember? He never went to Oxford. He did not come from money. He came from a regular working class family. His family was not dead. And at the very end of the book, the only two people that were at Jay Gatsby's funeral, sorry, my phone, y'all. The only two people that were at Jay Gatsby's funeral was Nick and Jay Gatsby's father, okay, who he hadn't talked to in a few years. So he created this whole new life for himself and really wanted people to accept him as this different man. And at the end, he died by the hands of the husband of the woman that he pretty much gave his life to, which is crazy. So, as we all know, Daisy was the one who was driving the yellow car that struck Myrtle Wilson and killed her. Gatsby didn't speak up because he didn't want her to get in trouble. He loves her. But here's the kicker. Daisy did not tell her husband, Tom, the truth. She did not tell him the truth, saying that she's the one who drove the car that hit Myrtle Wilson and killed her. She never spoke up for Gatsby. She claimed she loved him too, but she never took up for him. Never spoke out even after, Mrs. Wilson's husband found out. As a matter of fact, her and Tom kind of played along with this whole thing about Gatsby killing Myrtle. And of course, in the middle of his grief and anger, Mr. Wilson goes to Gatsby's house and he shoots him and kills him. And in the paper, that is what is the story. Now, that begs the question. Why didn't Nick speak up? Because he knew the truth. And why didn't Daisy speak up? This is the man that she claimed that she had loved. This is the man that she claimed that she still had feelings for. Jay Gatsby. And yet she almost allowed him to die for her mistake. And not only that, didn't even show up at the funeral. As a matter of fact, her and Tom left and moved somewhere else and were never heard of again. And then you start to think, Jay, if you knew she was all these things, why? Why Daisy? He could have had any other woman. He was like in his early 30s. He was handsome. Clearly he had money. But he settled on Daisy. He wanted her so bad that it literally cost him his life. And she didn't even care. And then Nick, who was the one who was telling us this whole story and ended up making it into a book, why didn't he say anything? He could have spoken up. He knew the truth. Wasn't Gatsby his friend? It makes you think about these things. It makes you think about the lengths that people will go to just to be with somebody or to say they have something. And also, what happens when you cover up secrets? How does that affect people? And are people truly who they say they are? I know prior to spring break and prior to, Corona, I asked you guys that question a couple of times in class. And we read some articles about that. What type of image do people portray? And why don't they want people to really know who they are? So I want you guys to think about that as you have wrapped up this book. I really hope you enjoyed it. There is no sequel. F. Scott Fitzgerald did write other books, but this is the only one of this kind. There is no sequel to this. We don't know what happens to Nick. We don't know what happens to Daisy. All we can do is just take the lessons from that book and try to somehow apply it to our lives in 2020. So like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you find other books that you're interested in. Make sure you share them. That would be awesome. And yeah, so that is my wrap up for The Great Gatsby. I hope I answered some questions if you were a little confused about some of that stuff. And yeah, so that's it. I'll see you guys later. This video is already a little long. Bye.